There's a hidden cost to people-pleasing that most never talk about until it's too late. The silent resentment, the emotional burnout, the growing distance between you and the people you love, ironically caused by the very thing you thought would bring you closer, never saying no. You do everything to maintain peace. You avoid confrontation. You convince yourself that sacrificing your own comfort is a small price to pay to avoid hurting others. But what if, without knowing it, you're hurting them anyway? What if the very absence of boundaries is pushing people away far more than the presence of them ever could? This isn't just about learning to say no. It's about understanding a subtle, powerful truth, that real connection only grows where clarity lives. So today we're digging deep into the art of setting boundaries, without guilt, without fear, and most importantly, without pushing people away. Because boundaries aren't walls, they're bridges. And if you understand how to build them, you don't lose people, you bring them closer. We're taught from a young age that kindness means compliance, that to be liked, you must be agreeable, that if someone needs your time, your energy, your attention, you give it, because that's what good people do. But buried beneath that lesson is a lie. The idea that saying yes to others is the only way to show love, that self-sacrifice is a virtue, that denying your own needs makes you stronger. In reality, it doesn't. It erodes you, and it erodes your relationships too. What happens when you repeatedly say yes out of obligation, not desire? When you offer your time, even when your tank is empty? When you smile and nod while something in your chest quietly wilts? Resentment builds, not just towards others but towards yourself, for betraying your own needs. Over time, this unspoken tension leaks into your interactions. You become irritable, distant, withdrawn. You blame them, or yourself, or both, and suddenly the relationship feels fragile, unstable, confusing. And it all started because you were afraid to set a boundary. But boundaries aren't rejections, they're definitions. They don't say, I don't care about you. They say, I care about me, and I want you to understand how I function best. Boundaries are not selfish, they're self-aware, and they protect not just your peace, but the health of your relationships. But how do you set boundaries without damaging the connection? How do you say this doesn't work for me without making someone feel like you're rejecting them? The answer lies not just in what you say, but how you say it, and more importantly, the energy behind it. The first shift happens within you. You have to stop believing that your needs are negotiable. You have to believe that it's not only okay to advocate for yourself, but necessary. Until you internalize that truth, every boundary will feel like a betrayal. You'll hesitate, apologize, backpedal. You'll whisper the words when they require a firm tone. You'll present your needs like an inconvenience rather than a right. And that communicates uncertainty. When you're unsure of your own boundaries, other people will be too. That's where the problems begin. People don't respect boundaries, you don't respect yourself. It's not because they're trying to violate you, but because you're sending mixed signals. You say, I need space, but then you cave when guilt hits. You say, I can't take this on, but then you do it anyway. And unintentionally, you train them to expect flexibility where there should be firmness. The truth is, the way others treat your boundaries is often a reflection of how consistently you enforce them. But don't misunderstand, consistency doesn't mean cruelty. You don't need to be cold to be clear. You don't need to be harsh to be honest. In fact, the most powerful boundaries are the ones delivered with warmth, calm, and compassion. Imagine this. Instead of lashing out, you calmly explain, hey, I care about you a lot, and I really want to support you. But I'm noticing that I'm overwhelmed, and I need to take a step back to recharge. That's not rejection. That's emotional maturity. That's communication. And it invites connection, rather than destroying it. People aren't as afraid of boundaries as you think. They're afraid of unpredictability. What breaks trust isn't the boundary. It's the resentment that comes from ignoring your own limits and the inevitable emotional blowout that follows. But when you set boundaries early, clearly, and kindly, you prevent that chaos. You create safety, both for yourself and for others, because now they know what to expect. They know where your limits are. And most importantly, they know how to love you in a way that doesn't drain you. Now, does that mean everyone will celebrate your new boundaries? Not at first. Some people are used to the version of you that never said no. They've come to rely on your overextension. They've benefited from your silence. And when you begin to draw lines, they might feel confused, hurt, even angry. Not because your boundary is wrong, but because it disrupts a dynamic they've grown comfortable with. That's okay. Discomfort is part of growth. Your job isn't to manage their reaction, it's to stay aligned with your truth. If a relationship can't survive a respectful boundary, it was never balanced to begin with. You're not abandoning people. You're inviting them into a healthier relationship, one with honesty, not obligation. Boundary setting will feel hard at first. especially if you've gone years, maybe even decades, without them. The first no might shake, your voice might crack, your hands might tremble, but that moment is sacred, because it's not just a word, it's a reclamation of your worth. Every time you honor a boundary, you tell yourself, I matter. My energy is valuable. I deserve to feel safe in my relationships, and you do. Setting boundaries also means unlearning the fear that people will leave. That if you say no, you'll be seen as cold, difficult, or unloving. That they'll walk away, and you'll be alone. But here's what's more lonely than being alone. Being surrounded by people who only love the version of you that never complains, never rests, never asks for anything. You don't want connection built on performance. You want connection built on authenticity. And boundaries are the foundation of that authenticity. They let others know who you really are, not who you pretend to be. They create relationships where both people feel safe, seen, and respected, not exploited. Boundaries are also a form of trust. When you set a boundary, you're trusting the other person with your truth. You're saying, I believe this relationship is strong enough to handle honesty. That's a compliment. That's a vote of confidence. And the right people won't run from that. They'll rise to meet it. Of course, there will be moments when someone doesn't understand, when they question your change, when they push back. In those moments, it's tempting to revert, to smooth it over, to say, never mind, it's okay. But it's not okay. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. And when you consistently choose your peace over their temporary comfort, something shifts. You stop betraying yourself. You stop resenting others. You stop feeling invisible. Instead, you feel grounded, present, clear. And from that place, you can give more authentically. Because now when you say yes, it's real. It's not forced. It's not draining. It comes from overflow, not depletion. That's the kind of giving that nourishes relationships. People can feel the difference. There's a deep respect that forms when someone sees you honoring your own limits. It gives them permission to do the same. Boundaries become mutual. Compassion deepens. Trust grows. And your connection with others evolves from something fragile to something deeply resilient. Think about the people you admire most. Are they doormats? Probably not. Chances are, they're people with strong values. People who speak with clarity. People who can be kind and firm. That's not by accident. That's the power of boundaries. Boundaries are not about keeping people out. They're about letting the right people in, fully, honestly, and sustainably. So the next time you feel the tug to stay silent, to comply, to give in, pause. Ask yourself, am I doing this out of love or out of fear? If it's love, go ahead. If it's fear, pause, breathe, reflect. And if the answer is no, let it be no, with kindness but with certainty. Because when you protect your peace, you protect your ability to love deeply. You protect your joy, your health, your sanity, and you show others what it looks like to love without losing yourself. You don't push people away by having boundaries. You push them away by pretending you don't need any. You don't destroy relationships by saying no. You destroy them by saying yes when you don't mean it. True connection doesn't come from sacrifice. It comes from presence. And you can only be present when you're not stretched thin by obligation and silent resentment. So if you want deeper love, more trust, more connection, start with boundaries.